What was your first business that you started?
I mean, I first started selling candy when I was in elementary school to the
Okay,
neighborhood.
all right. We
Um,
all have a selling candy or fried chicken in the basement of their dorm story. We
the,
all have one of those, Ruben.
yeah,
But your
we
first
have
real business.
the first real business stuff. So I worked at three different startups. I worked in education actually first at school. Then I worked at Honor, so that was in healthcare. And then I worked at Hustle, which was in politics, all tech-driven companies. But I also started a company called Breaking Into Startups, which is a media company. Which is why I really respect what you do. I think radio, television is one of the most powerful things out there. And the reason why I got into radio and podcasting and things like that is because one of my favorite biographies is the Autobiography of Malcolm X.
What? Say that
He
again.
said
The
that
what? The auto? No, just
the
don't do it, Smith.
uh,
Don't do it. Even though it's triggering right now, you're triggering me in a good way. But go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry.
Autobiography of Malcolm X. He grew up with Adventists. He said the media is the most powerful entity in the world. And I knew that if we were going to make an impact with people, I needed to have a voice, and not just a voice for myself, but our people needed a voice. So I dedicated myself to mastering distribution first. I actually worked in classical radio when I was in Tennessee before. And then I used to do a lot of things with celebrities in Atlanta. And I took my classical music and worked with a lot of artists in Atlanta as well. And we really, when I came to Silicon Valley, I really branded myself as the guy to help people get back on their feet and get employed, help everyday people understand how to break into tech because the media had monopolized the stories and told only stories of venture capitalists or CEOs that came from privileged backgrounds, and that's not inspiring to us. So that was my first foray into like really branding myself. And before that, I was in investment banking for 3 years and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah,
Trying everything, because that's how you figure out what it is you're here to do. So you hit on this career karma, and I brought you on actually because I read a chilling stat that the last jobs numbers that came out horrific. Most of those people who didn't have were jobless were Black women. This pandemic, we're not technically in a recession, but we really are. And when whatever stimulus package Joe Biden them come up with and whatever amount of money people get, it's giving a fish for the day. It's not teaching people how to fish. So folks going to need jobs. There are millions of tech jobs unmanned. A lot of people are scared of tech. They're running away from tech. They don't want to know how to code. They don't want to take the free Google classes to make sure that they're employed. What kinds of jobs can people find on Career Karma? Or what
yeah.
is
So
the message of Career Karma? Why did you start this?
yeah. So you touched on one of them, which is I think you asked about my education, but I'm actually a product of the matriarchy. I'm a mama's boy, and I've been mentored by a lot of very powerful Black women. I think Black women are magical and powerful. I think women in general are the most powerful in the world. That's another conversation. But the reason why I bring it up is because you touched on that stat with women losing jobs in December, but there's over 55 million Americans that filed for unemployment in 2020 due to the Great Lockdown. This is the greatest reallocation of labor since World War II, which is dark, but to your point, there's also lots of opportunities. Career Karma is the easiest way to find a job training program online. And we did start with only offering software engineering jobs to people and training to people. But currently, we offer 6 different career paths in technical and non-technical roles. So if you want to get a high-paying job in tech sales or in design or data science or cybersecurity, we have all of those roles, and it's very easy for you to sign up. You just go to careerkarma.com/apply. And not only will we match you with the right training that will get you a job within the next 3 to 12 months, we will connect you with other Black women or other veterans or other Black men or any race, because it's not just about races. People are hurting, and it's not enough just to match you to training. You need a community, and we put you in a small group that we call a squad. And we give you coaches to not just match you with that training, but give you support during the program, during the job search, and for the rest of your life. We want to be there with you as your trusted advisor in your career GPS system.
Take me back to the beginning. You sit down. I saw you posted Michael Dell's spreadsheet that he gave to his parents to invest in them. And I think about like business is about making money. You know, my dad had a grocery store. He said, if you bring in more money than you spend, you're good. You know, it's just it's math. It's simple math. What was the business model for Career Karma? You're altruistic. You have a great heart foundationally, but this is a business, right? That has to succeed. What was the business model and how did you know it was going to win?
Yes, a great question. And you do pay attention to the Twitter. I retweeted that post with Mr. Dell because it just reminded me of like how awesome it is to bet on yourself, but also the preparation it took to get there. And that you didn't actually have to go to college because you dropped out of college to make it. But to take a step back about the business model, one of my second investor in the company, my father was the first, is Michael Sabo, who's the CEO of Y Combinator, who's also a Black man, and he started Twitch. He really focused on making sure that we were laser focused on growing revenue as our key driver in order to keep the company going, and also to monitor something that you call burn, which is how much money that you're spending plus like your revenue that you got it. And so we've been blessed to raise over $12 million or about $12 million over the last 2 years because we have been really focused on revenue and burn, and we actually were profitable for 5 months before we raised our last $10 million round. But to answer your question about the business model, we always wanted to keep the product free for people because we're dealing with working class people. We want to reach 1 billion people in 10 years. And as we thought about the labor movement and how to create the best career navigation software of all time, we understood that there's over $1 trillion a year that's spent on workforce development in the United States. Where does it all go? Right? So as we thought about this massive amount of spending and the most strategic entry point, we discovered a small niche called boot camps. And again, these boot camps are job training programs that help people get jobs in 3 to 12 months. And then there's colleges which people think are the only way to get a job in tech, but that takes 4 years. Colleges are spending over $10 billion a year to get people to enroll, right? So then we're like, well, how much are online courses spending? They're probably spending a lot of money to get people enrolled, especially when the pandemic forced every education system to go online. And that's where the money pot is to start with. And then as we thought about it, we're like, what problem does the worker face? The worker is facing a lot of problems, but one of the first problems that they face is information overload, right? The information exists online, but there's thousands of courses. Like in our directory, we have 450 boot camps, 7,000 trade schools, colleges, and universities. How do you pick which program you're going to do, right? And the other thing that they're dealing with is the wrong decision has a high cost of failure, right? There's $10,000 to $50,000 that you're spending and time, which is even more important. So long story short, we created Career Karma to give people unbiased career advice that they can trust and curate the programs that are best for them. And whenever they accept a program and get introduced to a program or enroll in a program, we get paid. And we reinvest that to create better software to make the ecosystem stronger, stronger, stronger. And even though we say that the app is free for you, is if you get any value out of the app, spread the word and help people come behind you in the future. And we started with boot camps. Now that we raise this money, we're going to go to trade schools and colleges. And that same model works for employment as well. And so we're gonna get into staffing and things like that in the future to become the greatest staffing firm of all time. So that's where we're going.
Okay, so you single-handedly are going to get rid of unemployment in this country. You're going to do something that this last president claimed he did and did not. So you're saying something that I believe. Everyone looks at the top for the answers. You know, we expect the president of the United States to be like this wizard that's going to wave a wand. But most of the solutions have come from the ground up, from the people. we the people. So how do you look at politics? How do you look at politics, Ruben Harris? Because you do tweet quite a bit about stuff that's going on in the world as well.
Yeah, we definitely got to get our political connects up. This is a very good question because the tech world has historically had a confrontational relationship with government, and government has had a confrontational relationship or a misunderstood relationship with technology. But now that tech is starting to creep into areas that were historically highly regulated, you have to work with government, especially in workforce development. I think the solution to workforce development is going to require involvement of not just tech and the people, but also government, nonprofit, and maybe even the church, right? The church essentially has one of the most valuable real estate portfolios of all time, right? That's used one day out of the week, and the rest of the week it's not used. It's like the work, right? Back in the day, Dr. Martin Luther King knew this, right? The Black Panthers knew this, right? So there's a lot of really interesting things that you can learn from the church, which is another conversation. But going back to the point about government, there's over 550 workforce boards across the nation, right? During the Obama administration, there was the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, right? There's things like in San Diego that they're figuring out a way to do income share agreements and provide education to people that live in San Diego to help them get jobs, and when they get a job, they pay the government back, so that you never have to get the money through taxes. You just get it through it's a replenishing bucket. Long story short, we are going to do something special with government. We are doing special things with government right now. The problem is that it does move slow. But if you look at any big staffing firm like Adecco or Manpower Group or Recruit Holdings, they all got ties to government. So stay tuned for that.
Okay. Now, and how do we hold?
Hold on. Let me say one more thing.
Yep.
Sorry. One more thing related to the Black woman thing. So something that we did last year is we noticed that most of the people that were losing jobs were women and people of color. And in addition to trying to find training for jobs, a lot of them didn't have laptops. So something that we did with the Workforce Board in Southwest Washington, shout out to them. First, we launched this campaign called Reskill America, where I wanted to give away 5,000 laptops to people that have been unemployed so that they can enroll in programs. And I got really cool donations from people like Colin Kaepernick, Square, GitHub, Affirm, Airtable, others. But then the Workforce Board, which is the government entity in Washington, said they wanted to work with us. So they're actually using government money to purchase 50 laptops for people in Washington and creating a check-in, check-out center so that they can enroll in programs through Career Karma. And once we really figure out that model in Washington, I want to roll that across all 500 workforce boards or more workforce boards across the nation. So stay tuned.
The problem with tech is that tech is created in the image of the person that created it. And usually, they don't see us, which is why we can go with the hand washing thing. The water doesn't see our black tones under the, because it doesn't pick up, the AI doesn't pick up certain things because they didn't imagine us, like the Constitution. I feel we were talking about the 1776 debacle. And yeah, that Constitution, when it talked about all men, it didn't consider you, definitely didn't consider me. But we're here. So you must consider us and we must make you consider us. So my question to you is, how do we hold them accountable?
It's a good question. So I think I always like to start off with the question, like, what's the purpose of technology? And so in my opinion, the purpose of technology is to give people a voice and give people the power to create, right? And when you think about it, the 99% really has the power, we're just not organized, right? But software is really good at organizing people around different things. And so I think it's definitely a combination of bottoms-up strategies and top-down strategies, but I would say the top-down strategies are maybe like 20%. And everything else should be 80%. So like I like to ask a question like, what would Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X do if they knew how to code? what would they build? Right?
Ooh.
You know, like how would they use social media today?